8-0 victory over Salford City puts them safely through to the next round of the FA Cup. Watching that for us in lovely warm Manchester January air, Mark Ogden joins us. Mark, what do we say about this?
Well, I mean, City are ruthless, aren't they? They don't take it easy on teams that are from a vastly different level of football. They went for the kill and they got the kill. 8 goals. McAtee looked really impressive. He might have got himself a move in January. I know there's a couple of teams that may be interested, but you know, Pep likes him. Pep thinks he's I won't say he's the new Bernardo Silva, but he plays that similar role to Bernardo Silva. So the situation is he's not getting enough games. So McAtee, very promising youngster, but he's 22 now, wants to play. So he's put City into the next round of the FA Cup, or helped to, and he's also put himself in the shop window for maybe a loan move or a permanent move. Those players you mentioned, and there are many more that have left the club maybe a year or 18 months too soon. They haven't been given the chance to prove themselves. Now, McAtee had 2 years on loan at Sheffield United. He's come back to City this season hoping to play more games, and he's not played enough games. So, I mean, like I say, he's 22. That is an age now where he needs to be playing football, and I think he's got to the point where he's looking around the team thinking, well, Bernardo Silva plays every week, you've got Jack Grealish, you've got Doku, you've got all these great players, and I think he's realising that, you know, he can't really wait much longer to get his career going. There are teams like Newcastle are interested. I think RB Leipzig and Stuttgart in Germany as well. All would be really good moves for him. And I think City have got to the point where they can't really loan him out again. They have to make a decision now. Is he going to play more games, or are they going to cash in and raise some money? I think it'll be cash in and raise some money, because as good as he is, you know, he can't wait forever.
Yeah, I know you like him, Kieran, yeah?
I really like him. I think he's got a balance about him, a maturity. I think he's got real quality. I think that he plays very similar to Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, these types of players, and they don't come around too often. So I'm surprised that Man City would let him go so easily, considering the amount of players that have done that. Your Cole Palmers, and gone on to flourish, especially with City struggling at the moment. It would be a strange one for me.
But he had, as Augie said, he had a couple of years at Sheffield United on loan, did well. But at his age now, and he's looking at these other players that have left and flourished, and their careers are going, you know, the trajectory is going upwards, some faster than others, like Cole Palmer, who's sort of gone to a different stratosphere and who's literally carried Chelsea for the last 18 months or so with his performances. And you look at this as a 22-year-old and think, right, okay, I might get a game here in a League Cup game or the FA Cup game against Salford in the early rounds, but what about a quarter-final or a semi-final? If these guys are fit, I'm not getting on the field. I'm not getting on the field in most of the league games if all these guys are fit. So what do I do as a player when you feel you have the ability to affect a game and you're seeing people that have been at the club with you that have done that? It has to make you want to go and be what would be perceived as a regular in another side, a Premier League side, or as Augie mentioned, in Germany or wherever. And I just feel with this youngster is like he's a very good player, but whether he's going to be good enough to get them back to where they want to get to under this manager, I'm not sure there's going to be enough game time for him at this football club.
I think he's got to look at it as well and ask himself how long are these other players that are playing ahead of him going to be around for at City? You know, this Bernardo Silva, he's been there for how many years now? Kevin De Bruyne, those types of players. He has to look at that and say, you know, can I wait and be patient enough? Because if he does, he could become, you know, a Manchester City regular and a big player for them. So I think he has to weigh everything up, and like Craig says, you either take that route and be a little bit more patient, or you get off and try and flourish somewhere else.
But we've seen even the likes of Julian Alvarez, who we talked about. We talk about a lot, but he made this big money move to Atletico Madrid. Of course, they wanted him, but I think part of that move was maybe he wanted to go to Spain and be a regular. He offered City a lot over the period that he was at the club, but I think even in his mind, it had to be most weeks he was thinking, if Haaland's fit, I'm not going to play there. Maybe I'll play in a wide position, but there was no guarantee even for the likes of Julian Alvarez, who was a World Cup winner. And I think that kind of persuaded him that once this big money move, an offer came in from Atleti, that he was going to go to Spain and it didn't pan out this way at the start, but it certainly is now. He's a regular and he's scoring goals and he's playing well. So when you're an experienced international footballer, World Cup winner, and that's your mindset, it's understandable that if you're a homegrown player at 22 years old and you've been on the fringes for quite some time, it's very understandable that you're worried that if you make the wrong decision and you stay, you just get swallowed up by the players that are there and the potential players that City will bring in. I think the sort of the waggles that we see from him, they're not really selling a dummy to defenders. It's a little predictable, and then you're relying on your pace. So he's a young guy, he can get better, and he will get better. He's got a lot of very good attributes, but I think he's become for the better fullbacks in the game a little bit easy to read. And so today is I don't think we'll learn a lot apart from some of these players getting confidence with this result and scoring goals and blah blah blah. But when you're playing against the better defenders and they figure it out, you have to figure out something different, and I don't think he's done that yet.
You're one of the better defenders, Kieran?
Not better dressers.
I wouldn't like to have played against him, that's for sure.
But as Craig said, if he's just got that one trick, do you work it out pretty quickly and you know what he's going to do?
I definitely think Craig's right. When you do go up a level, the time and space gets shorter.
Right.
And so your decision making has to get better, and that's the difference between the great players and the really good players. You can see when he plays against, no disrespect to against opponents like Salford, he's extremely dangerous, and we've also seen him really dangerous in the Premier League. But after his first season, that's when people started to work him out a little bit. And so, yes, you need a bit more variety. I think it was in the second half, I think it was the fourth or fifth goal where he spins in behind. Can he do that a bit more? Because he's just electric, and he doesn't even need to worry about doing all of these tricks and stuff. He can just spin in behind because he's so quick, you can't stop him. To me, at the moment where he is, City, dependent on who's available, to me, he's a guy in a big game, when a fullback's had a bit of a rattling for 60 or 70 minutes or whatever it is, you bring this young player on.
Right.
When fatigue's starting to kick in a little bit and he's fresh and he just wants to drive at that defender. Had a difficult hour and he comes on, he's got that pace, he's got that directness. That's kind of for me in a lot of the games, again, depending on who's available for Man City, where I would see Jeremy Doku at is coming on to change a game. And I think he did that. I think maybe I might be wrong in saying it was at Liverpool, albeit they got beat. But I think memory said.
No, you're right. He did come on in the second half, made a bit of a difference.
He came on, made a difference, and he was fast and he was quick, and he got out. It might have been Alexander-Arnold. That's kind of where he is. I think it's, and if he wants,
he's not someone who's going to carry a team.
Not at the moment, but he's still quite young and he's still quite raw and he's still, dare I say it, inconsistent. He's not alone. That's what a lot of younger players are. But he can change games, and I think that's a very good scenario to have for Pep Guardiola. But again, in the player's mind, you're thinking, I'm good enough to play here.
Right.
I need to be starting every week. But at this club, generally, not so much recently, but as a general rule of thumb at Man City, you have to be a 9 out of 10 most weeks just to hold a place down in the team. Yeah. He's not there yet.
Mark, away from what we saw today, just a couple of transfer points I wanted to bring up with you. Kusanov, is that official?
It's not official yet, but I think both clubs are very close to an agreement, if not already agreed. So that will happen. Young centre-half from Lens, so they'll bring him in. Marmouche at Frankfurt might take a little bit more work to do. He scored today for Eintracht, I think. So they're the two players you want to get in right now. Two young players. City's recruitment over the last 3 or 4 years has been at the younger end, and apart from Erling Haaland, they've not really been as successful as they were maybe 3 or 4 years earlier than that. So the thing with young players is they come with a big reputation coming through, but you just wonder sometimes if they get it wrong. I'm not saying they got it wrong with Doku and Savinho and Matheus Nunes, but if the players that come in aren't quite as good as the ones they're replacing, that's when you start having that drop off, and that might be where City are right now. And if these young players that are coming in aren't quite as good as the players that they're replacing, then that's where the problem starts. So the big question marks over City if they're getting these right, because certainly Kusanov is a player that is completely unheralded in France. He's come from Uzbekistan 18 months ago, Belarus 18 months ago. He's a player that not many people are aware of. So it's either a great find or a massive gamble.
Mark, I'm afraid we need more from you. Stay with us, please, because there's more transfer talk to come later on in the show. And just a reminder to keep up to date with all the latest transfer news.